It's the wrong button again. There you go.
Start hitting the right
I
button.
remember my first time using my Stream Deck.
Dude, it's impossible sometimes. Hi, guys. Welcome to the Graveyard Crew podcast. For those of you who know me, I'm Mike, a.k.a.
He hit the right button.
I hit the right button this time. It took me more tries than I want to admit to hit that button on my Stream Deck just now. Regardless, welcome to the Graveyard Crew podcast, episode 30. Tonight we talk about 6 Days in Fallujah. We talk about other video games upcoming in the year 2021 and more. But it's been a while. How's everyone been?
I look different. I don't have a mop.
Josh had got that fresh cut, and I am just now 2 months away, possibly from having my first kid. So.
Oh shucks, there's gonna be more.
Josh, the haircut looks good.
Thank you.
It's gonna be a blast. I'm so excited for you, Saber.
Thank you.
Now I just need to actually grow an actual beard instead of the nick, and then I will actually be presentable.
So, tonight we're talking about 6 Days in Fallujah.
Yes,
For those
sir.
of you who are unaware of 6 Days in Fallujah, I will pull it up for you just so you can see. We will watch both the... We should probably just do the trailer and then the gameplay, correct? Like,
Yes.
we should just watch them back to back and then talk about it? Or
Uh,
pause and talk about... We've already seen these on here. We've already seen...
I don't think
the
we.
trailer.
I don't think we need
We
to see
see
the
the
reveal trailer. I think we can just go straight to the gameplay reveal trailer.
Yeah, it's-
So,
it's
Just
as-
straight to gameplay? Okay.
As much
Yeah.
as many of you guys have already watched in the past before, 6 Days of Fallujah, 6 Days in Fallujah, was announced as a re-release or a return to being released back when it was scrapped in 2009 by Konami, and it's now being released by an indie developer and being developed by a group of veterans who served during the Battle of Fallujah, and it's a game that's got as much controversy as it did when it initially was announced back in 2009. And so we are here today to watch what the gameplay is going to be. Gameplay is being revealed about the game, and it looks like we got a little campaign storyline being returned into the game. So let's go ahead and check it out.
Yes, sir.
I was a sergeant with Lima Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines.
Hollywood.
On November 9th, 2004, I entered the city with 12 Marines plus myself. And by November 13th, I was down to 4 Marines and myself.
6 Days in Fallujah recreates stories from the battle based on eyewitness accounts.
One squad has already walked down this alley, so we're just like walking
I'm
down.
trying to pause the podcast video, not my video. First off, I want to take a moment. This game actually, like, now that I'm seeing more of it, looks fucking beautiful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it looks
It
fucking
looks
good.
It just shows how well Unreal Engine has developed through the years. And that gun audio sound, and that right there. Go back. That
I
is.
think we were both trying to comment on the same thing. Like,
Yeah,
it
This-
sounds the
And,
audio.
like these guys just
cues.
open up.
just that AR right there. Yeah, well, so just going
And
off.
that.
The way it's looking down the sight there because you're pressed up against a wall.
Like, you don't have time to look down the rear aperture. You're just pointing your gun at the target at that point and just sending shots at it.
It's very good. Very high hopes for this.
Pause it real quick.
Go right, on it.
So and especially here though, if you look as he's going down there, he's not running, which he's taking it slow. You're taking that slow pace. I mean, I know when the game comes out, you're probably going to be a little bit more fast paced, but he's taking it slow. He's taking his time. He's not trying to make mistakes, and
Right.
that will be important as we try to see.
Now,
here. We
like,
don't-
so, like, take this, like, example here. And, like, okay, first of all, none of us here have ever served or anything like that. We just go based off what we have researched and looked into. We all follow military history and everything like that. And what I assume what they're trying to do here is they're trying to simulate what it's actually like when somebody says, like, say, slice the pie. Slice the pie is when you are looking at a corner and you are clearing it, starting on one side, and you're slowly working your way around the corner. Now, in video games in general, there's not really any other way of looking down your gun without actually looking down this sights, and that takes away a huge amount of your field of view. In this game, what they're trying to do, what it looks like, is that they're trying to open up your field of view of how somebody actually is when they are like examining something here. So as you see in this frame right here, they have like full field of view. They can see directly in front of them. They can see up on those freaking balconies on that red building up to his right. He can see everything. He doesn't have to worry about that of a tunnel vision being created by just looking down at a sight post.
And you can see where he's already has his rifle aimed as he's getting around that corner.
So
well,
he's
not
something,
rear aperture sight, but
this is something I'm curious of. I mean, like, this is supposed to be gameplay, but I've been fooled by gameplay reveals in the past. I hope this is going to be like a core thing in the game where you can, like, at a loss of accuracy, have your field of view opened up, but still have your gun kind of at the ready.
I mean,
you know,
I've never been, like I said, none of us have ever served, none of us have ever been in combat, but I feel like when I watch like videos and stuff like that, it's just a matter of just sending shots downrange. You're not worried about acquiring your target or anything like that. You're just worrying about sending shots downrange to suppress your enemy.
Get that fire superiority.
Absolutely.
Okay, now bringing it back a little bit, I want to see how that fire suppression work. How did the fire suppression work in this game?
It looked like he made it a little blurry.
So this guy right here in the dead center of the screen, this guy right here, I'm circling him on screen, doesn't move at all. And I can tell you I'm not standing fast with bullets flying in my direction. Like, he didn't move at all. You know what I mean?
That was the go command.
Yeah.
One tap issues orders to your team based on what you're pointing at.
But
This part is what I'm excited about. It's the squad-based mechanics.
Replace with
And
suppressive fire while you flank.
Keep that suppression up. Keep them pinned.
Oh, that is so freaking clean.
So
that right there is pretty fucking cool.
pause it
And
real quick. So a lot of some games have done this. I've seen it be able to do it in Tarkov, but to put this in a little bit of a cover shooter type of style, where your cover is going to keep you alive, that is going to make this game a little bit more fun to play, because it makes it more useful. Unlike, because I've been playing Tarkov, so that's going to be unlike where you only have the upside, and I think you can do left side, which is cool, but you know, this takes it to a different type of shooting, because you're basically having that head movement, but the rifle's going where you need it to go.
yeah, I'm excited. It looks like a good mechanic. I think that's going to be a solid gameplay mechanic. But I have kind of a big gripe about this. And I'll discuss my big complaint after the video's over, because I think it's important that we also watch the other trailer tonight.
Hold your fire.
The M16 model looks so good, though.
Oh yeah.
That reload was a little
Order your
goofy.
team to stack up.
Watch this reload.
He's got ammo in the chamber, so he doesn't have to rechamber it.
Hold your fire.
That was goofy.
He rejected
Like,
it.
See,
but it also just felt
Order your
kind of like a cartoon. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like reload animations have not gotten worse over the years. And that doesn't seem like in my opinion, a solid reload animation.
no, especially
But-
when a game like
There's just-
Squad exists, where like it has ammo. First of all, Squad's like Squad and Tarkov are like the only games out there that has reload animation down perfectly to me. Because why does he rechamber around after he ejects his mag? If anything, his chamber should already be in the rear, ready to chamber the next round after he puts the mag in.
Why is he using the charging handle to chamber around after he puts a mag in too? Like, you wouldn't I've never pressed the charging handle to load or to chamber around. Like, it's already slid back, mag goes in, thumb release.
You never know what to expect.
You know what I mean?
Know the layout of the house until you get in.
Now, this is supposed to be how the game works too, is that you're going to have these cutscenes back into these interviews because it's supposed to be a documentary-style gameplay campaign.
Every single time.
Marines and soldiers never knew what was waiting for them behind the next door. And if you want a realistic experience,
I'll wait.
neither can you.
I'll wait.
6 Days in Fallujah reshapes the battlefield every time you play.
That concerns me. Every time you play, the choice of those words concerns me based on what this game is supposed to be. And I do want a fun experience when I play a game. But I don't think that I need to be reminded that I'm playing a video game with a story that this is supposed to convey. And I think that I'm a little concerned about that. Do you understand what I mean?
Kind of.
Kinda.
Like, explain a little bit more what your concern is about that.
Okay. So they want to be really poignant with the stories they're telling. These are stories of real Marines and real Iraqi civilians talking about Fallujah.
Right.
But they're concerned about gameplay. Gameplay is important. When you're trying to tell a story like they are, gameplay is not that big of a deal. And the every time you play makes it seem like they want to create replayability within their game. Rather than we're putting this out to tell a story, we're putting this out to play a game. And it's a very thin line to walk trying to get good gameplay mechanics and a good story to be told.
I think
it's very hard to have both at the same time.
I could see,
and this is a first-time developer company.
Right. And I can see your concern with that. Where I'm looking at in terms of the developer is that you are, in terms of also taking the responsibility of telling firsthand accounts of a very controversial battle that happened during a very controversial war. You're also trying to find a way to keep people to keep coming back to keep playing. Like, you're trying to create that replay value.
Yeah,
but is this a game that they want replayed? This is a story that needs to be told, but is it a game that needs to be replayed? That's the question. That's where I'm hung up. Is I'm excited for it on principle of what they're trying to do, but the focus, that line really upset me a little bit. Like, every time you play, not upset me, but gets me nervous because it's almost like they're trying to create. It's very easy to make a Call of Duty clone. And I don't want this to feel at all like Call of Duty in terms of scale.
Right.
Like, I've seen enough videos. I can go on YouTube and pull up a video of what a real grenade blast looks like. And then I can show you what a grenade blast in Call of Duty looks like. Or, I don't want it to look like Call of Duty. So the way it looks now, I'm very happy with.
Right.
But the gameplay wise is a very big concern to me. Like, is it going to be a little bit realistic? But if it's a little bit realistic and is only like really one playthrough and then everyone's going to try and speedrun it, whatever. Like, I'm sure there's going to be a speedrunning community for this game if it didn't have procedurally generated levels.
So, like, this game could be either one or two things for I think as Highwire as for this dev team. This game can either serve as their introduction to get people to show what they're capable of and get people to buy into their company and everything like that. And after release, they may not touch it at all. And to me, in terms of what they're trying to do and tell stories of Fallujah, I think that's perfectly okay. I think that I don't think it could be their biggest flaw if they try to continue to work on this game after the fact. Because to me, this is your release, you're done. You may release a few bugs and a few patches to fix some potential in-game bugs and glitches that might come along, but you're not going to do much to add content to this game because it's a story. It's like when the Q&As were going on in the forum, I asked it what will mirror this type of gameplay, and it's giving me like, kind of like similar to what we've seen in Brothers in Arms, Ghost Recon, the old school Ghost Recons and stuff like that. Of course, they said that they're going for their own original taste. It's not giving like any game before, and that's totally respectable. Of course, when you and me watch this and see the first kid, it's Brothers in Arms. I mean, that's like literally like
That's
when you
not a
play
bad thing.
when you play Road to Hill
Brothers in Arms is a good
when you play Road to Hill 30, the first thing that they teach you when you go into combat, when you get your squad members, is that you will use your squad members to suppress the enemy while you go on a flank and take out the enemy. And they did that exactly here. They said, use your guys to suppress the fire and then find a flank to get around and eliminate the target.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's perfectly okay. I put every Brothers in Arms games I've ever played, I thoroughly enjoyed. Those were great games. And I'm looking forward to a modern take on that with this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But don't say you're not like trying to be like a game like that and then have the thing that makes Brothers in Arms so special be talked about immediately. I don't know. Like they did say that in the forum. Like they're like, hey, this is our own take on everything. But then immediately show like a core mechanic of Brothers in Arms.
And that's perfectly fine. People, copy and paste core mechanics from different video games all over the place. If it's not Call of Duty taking from Medal of Honor or, Halo taking from Doom, it's always something. People create a mechanic, and that mechanic is absolutely flawless, and people will use that mechanic to implement it to their game. And so, it is what it is, and I can totally respect them. They're not going to blatantly say that their game is like another game from a AAA title developer. Of course not. But of course, this game, from that first thing there, it kind of mirrors of what Brothers in Arms used to be.
Yeah.
What I'm not upset about that. I
No.
need to be perfectly clear about that.
No,
I'm not
nobody
upset, But also, like, that feature's not in another game.
No.
No,
Not that I can think of. That is a distinctly, when I saw it, I was like, oh fuck, that's Brothers in Arms.
Even though Ghost Recon, old school Ghost Recon was the only other like squad based game I can possibly think of. It wasn't even. What did you say?
Ghost Recon's isn't as close as Brothers in Arms. I think you were trying to say.
Yeah, it uses squad mechanics where you can control your squad to like attack an enemy or anything like that. But Brothers in Arms, you can literally have like a full squad of like 9 guys at your command to help you attack the enemy. Whereas Ghost Recon was like you and 3 or 4 other guys.
Yeah, and
Right.
like for Brothers in Arms, I only played the highway one.
Hell's Highway.
Hell's Highway.
Hell's Highway.
Where you do control those guys, and then on top of that, you can split up those guys into 2 different fire teams, and suppress 2 different enemies while you run that mission, or have someone run with you. Which is actually, if they can implement, I mean, they're trying to keep it original, but if they can implement this into this type of gameplay, I mean, and focus on how the squad works together as a team, then it could strengthen how you run as a squad leader,
Right.
and drive the story, and you might care for those squad mates, and if it does happen, which I would assume happens if any of them get killed.
Right. Now, I think
You feel it
that's
more.
something I think we could discuss after we watch this trailer. So let's continue on with the trailer.
Yeah, let's finish this up.
Each room, each building, even the entire neighborhood. is
Well, hold on. Procedurally generated levels in a shooter. I fucking love that idea. I'm just concerned about its practice in a game that's trying to tell a poignant story.
All right.
Procedurally. Every map is a new map. So just like actual combat, you'll never know what to expect.
Pause it real quick. Now, for procedurally, I mean, it is kind of like a one and done type of thing for this story. But let's say if you do replay it and have that replay value.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if you do, I know the map will change, but let's say you do keep the same map. What if the AI itself changes?
Well, that's what they were saying.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you go through that house the first time, and there was bad guys in the house, and you go through the second time, and it's empty, or there's civilians in there, Maybe it'll make you think on how you play the gameplay. It's like you said, speedrunners might change the way, but if they keep it that way, maybe it might be a little bit more towards that, and that would be kind of cool to see, and it'll be a little bit more accurate to that timepiece. But
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Let's
I would
finish
have to
this.
see. I would have to see the game to play the game for it to see.
That animation was a little weird. Like the door open animation felt dated. Like,
Yeah.
look, he like stares at the door. And he's like, "How do I do this?"
And like
It
he
just
does like that
didn't feel-
back up, go grab, and pull up. Yeah, it's not.
Well, I mean, yeah, you could have just pulled the door open while taking cover with it.
Now that's a unique command. So that's I think where they're trying to claim to be unique is that there's actually specific commands in this game where you tell a guy to watch a door or watch a stairwell. The sound effects though.
The audio design is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys made sure that they know which weapons they're firing, they know how they sound, and they want them to sound right.
Oh wow.
It looks like it's almost selectable between front and rear sight.
Yeah.
My son, he had his first birthday while we
Oh,
were
this one
in Georgia.
hurts.
I want to take a picture. So I wrote "Happy Birthday, JJ" on a piece of cardboard and I held it up. That was the most difficult day I had there. It dawned on me, it's like, I can't die on my kid's birthday. And that's all I thought about all day long, was dying
You
on
both
my
are.
kid's birthday.
Pooter, you're a father, and Saber, you're about to be a father.
Well,
I can't
don't
compare.
wanna
I
talk
can't.
about
I,
it on- I don't want to talk about it on that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about it on that's what he's saying means so fucking much,
Yeah.
but they're focused on replayability. That's just like my big fucking concern.
well, also
That's my concern.
Well, you also gotta remember too, like these guys work on this game. Like these guys have been around this game. Like the character models are based off of these guys that they interview.
But that's what I'm saying is, why are they trying to make a game that's fucking multiple playthrough game telling these it's kind of
I mean, they interviewed hundreds of different people, so it could be just different hundreds of points of view. It's not maybe it's not all the same character. Maybe it's just all different stories. They might have like a plethora of different stories to pull from.
Yeah, they can.
right.
I mean,
I guess the procedural generation, and it's not like they're gonna fucking. I don't know. Maybe I'm hung up on something that's not that big of a deal.
yeah, and honestly, if it does have hundreds of stories, I know they wouldn't want to make it a series, but they could.
Or that can just be their
Improving on
added
it.
content later.
Yeah, improving the content, improving the story, or telling different stories.
So just think, you know, you have this Marine, you're amped up, you know, you got all this adrenaline going through, you kick that door down and it's like family of four. And I'm talking to the dad, I'm like, dude, like, why are you still here? He's like,
عن طريق التلفزيون طلع بوقتها هذا اياد علاوي كان رئيس الوزراء قال ابو مصعب الزرقاوي موجود في الفلوجه وراح احنا نهجم وناخذه.
فلذلك
Pause it real quick.
نقدر نقول من بيرز العمليه.
Now, I don't mind that type of story where it cuts through when you cut a scene, and to explain some things, to tell you what's going on, and explain their point of view. But at the same time, that could get in the way of your immersion in it.
I don't want immersion.
Yeah.
You don't want immersion.
I don't want to be well. I do want immersion. I want the story to be told well, but being immersive is different than being a good story, and that's a big deal. Like the story is important, so I don't want to be like, I don't want to forget that I'm playing a video game, which is like really weird to say because most of the time I'd be like, yeah, I want to forget about real life while I'm playing this game. That's the pinnacle of what makes a good game. But I don't see this as a video game. I see this as a storytelling thing. And video games are a great method of telling a story. But this isn't a story I want to be engrossed in. This is a story that needs to be told.
I don't want to feel like I'm that character, basically. Like I want to, I want to respect, and I don't want to be part of this guy's, path or anything like that. I just wanted to see what happened, what was going on. That is what this game is. This game is taking a step that video games really don't do at all, and that's try to take a story and tell it with kind of like the closest first-hand experience you're ever gonna get to actually see what these guys were doing. Okay. And it's such like it's a challenge that I can't imagine anybody taking, because you have to get it. There's literally no room for error. If you get this wrong, it ruins you and your reputation forever.
Well, this is a first-time game development studio releasing a game like this, and I don't want to say a game because video games are more than just video games. I've played games that I'll never forget the story. I will never forget Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Redemption 2. Those are two examples of excellent storytelling with good gameplay, but I was never like, oh my god, I'm John Marston, or oh my god, I'm Arthur Morgan. It was like, I'm playing a fucking great cowboy game. But I've also played games where I have gotten so engrossed in the game that I forgot about real life. Like when I played The Witcher, I was so engrossed in The Witcher, I really wanted to like continue and playing. And I felt like the character is written in a way that allows you to kind of live through their footsteps, where when you play Red Dead, it's your third person observing the story that's being told to you.
Well, I was trying to put for this, for these, it was more of towards like how Band of Brothers that did it when they put at the beginning.
You mean Brothers in Arms or which one?
Band of Brothers specifically, how they have the veterans who were there describing, or civilians in this case, describing what was going on, giving you an idea of what you're going to be about to watch, or in this case play through, and then you play through it, at least knowing in the back of your mind, what you will possibly see as you go through this mission or go through this house or whatever. If you get my drift.
No, I get what you mean. Like with this game, you want to be just enough like grabbed onto the game to where you're not bored by it, because you just feel like you're playing a charted course. But at the same time, you don't want this to be an arcadey shooter where you just run out into the middle of the street and just one tap everything in your path.
Yeah. So I like the documentary style, but sometimes if you get it like right in the middle, something's gonna happen. You're like, whoa, what the hell?
Well, like this also just could be edited footage. This couldn't. Yeah. This is possibility. This isn't exactly how this mission goes, where it's 2 seconds of gameplay and then also a cutscene.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see cutscenes like this in the game.
I think there's going to be like a narration. I think there's gonna be like a narration. I think there's gonna be like a narration while you're playing.
Yeah, if this came up, this would be cool to see. But I'm like,
I wouldn't want to see it in the middle of a mission.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to see, like in the beginning of it, to prepare you as you go through it. Now, this one right here, where the civilians are talking about how their family left, but his father and then himself both stayed in the city. I was like, there is a lot of civilians who stayed in Fallujah, and the casualties were high.
Yeah, and that's what makes this game so controversial, and that's what we'll get into next here is, of course, the controversy that a lot of mainstream outlets are casting upon this video game.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean,
it's not pretty for more.
While we were setting up for the stream, Pooter found that trending on Twitter right now is 6 days of war crimes. That there is a huge There's a huge.
I have that article too, so I can read it.
So we're gonna pull up this article from major news outlet Kotaku, where the basically we are reading this from the site that definitely does not want this game to happen.
No. And I found a couple other articles that talk about it. One that talks about the immersion that Pooter had discussed earlier, but we don't have to read that one. The other talking about petitioning to stop this game. And for anyone who hasn't heard what happened in the game in the past, that's exactly how they canceled this game before. Back in 2009, there was people who petitioned to get this game to not be made, and then I believe then Konami pulled out of it, and then made that terrible multiplayer game, which it didn't do it justice. It's not.
Well, the multiplayer game wasn't ever supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was the engine that they had developed. They spent a lot of money developing an engine, and then the controversy surrounding 6 Days in Fallujah, the controversy that surrounded that game had it canceled. You know, like it got canceled, and they're like, well, we need to do something with this engine we spent so much money on. They made Breach. Breach was dog shit.
Yeah, which didn't do justice on what they were trying to do. Hopefully, Spence, it's been almost 10 years. Oh, what about 10 years later? 11.
Yeah, roughly.
All right, so let's get straight into this article. So right off the bat, rebooted
war crime simulator. 6 Days of Fallujah. If I've ever wanted to spend money on a video game, it's because it's called War Crime Simulator. Like this. this bad press is. I don't think these guys are going to be telling the story of war crimes.
No.
The war crimes, there were things committed in Fallujah, atrocities, but I don't think they're going to be glorifying those atrocities by making them into a video game.
I mean, we also remember we will be playing from the perspective of civilians, and we don't know what those stories are yet. These guys could just be going out and saying like, "We're going to show you what Fallujah was." You know, we don't know everything about this game yet. We don't know if this is going to be this patriotic game that everybody's going to want to go play, or this is just going to be the hardcore truth of it. Now, I'm pretty sure on one side of it though, you got the take now where they will not. Well, I'll come back to that. We'll just go and get back to the article first.
Let's read this very.
Okay. So got its official gameplay reveal yesterday. So this article came out Wednesday. It came out yesterday. The gameplay reveal came out 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So a game as one-sided propaganda for the U.S. war machine.
Clearly, he hasn't done his research. Go on.
The trailer was debuted exclusively by IGN. So this isn't. I don't think this is a slam piece on the game as much as it's a slam piece on IGN. I'm going to say this. IGN and Kotaku, they've always,
hated each other.
They've always hated, not necessarily hate each other. They have like a
competed.
Yeah, they compete for sure. I don't know. They want it to be a playable documentary, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But
one of the deadly sieges. But shit, we play games in fucking Vietnam.
Well, it's because Vietnam was 60 years ago.
And there's never been a game on Vietnam that took place on an actual battle.
Yeah, it hasn't.
No.
I mean,
like they talk about things, but it's not.
The closest you're gonna get is Black Ops in the Battle of Khe Sanh.
But even that, it's its own like manipulation of the battle.
Yeah.
There's no real life names or anything like that. But anyways, we go into this. United States military veteran Sergeant Jason Kyle and the developers at Victoria and Highwire Games walk you through the first ever gameplay video of 6 Days of Fallujah, the tactical first-person shooter with procedurally generated mission spaces based on real-life events from 2004 second battle in the Iraq War. The video focuses on the squad tactics you'll use to break into people's homes and clear them of enemies. He puts in quotes clear of quotes enemies, meaning that, you know, he's pushing the narrative that it's just to go in and kill civilians, basically. And unfortunately,
which is not the truth.
It's not the truth at all. The civilian casualties were, of course, high. And to this day, I believe they don't even have an accurate count of how many civilians actually died in the siege of Fallujah.
Right.
So, of course, and that part of it was what makes this game and the battle controversial. But at the same time, it's war. Based on whatever pretenses of why we were there, it is war. These guys are going in with a job to do. They went in. Yeah. They did the best what they thought they could do, and they gave everybody a heads up, like, hey, we're coming to the city, and if you are here and you're an adult male, you will be treated as hostile.
A great way to see this in an actual movie. It's not complete. accurate is the Chris Kyle movie,
American Sniper.
American Sniper, when they're clearing the house, like, why are you here? Why are you here? That's what I would. I mean, like I said, I wasn't there. What I would assume why they're already stressed out. They probably been shot at or whatever, and then to happen to see civilians still there, still in their homes, and as we saw at the end of the trailer, saying, "Hey, we are here because we defend our homes. This is basically, we live here. This is at the end of the day, when they leave, we'll still be here."
Right.
And to say that they're gonna go and clear the house and take out the enemies, is not completely true. They were told, those soldiers, from what I would assume, and I'm just only going off Chris Kyle here. I don't know if this is true. We're told that everyone in this city is hostile.
No, they were. They were told that basically the breakdown was that, and it says right here that that all males that were aged from 15 to 55, all that age is considered as basically as a warfighter age. If you were there, you're male, and you're of that age range, you are immediately considered hostile, because this is a liberation of Fallujah. They know that the Taliban is settled in there, and they're going in to clear them out. And they gave everybody this heads up, like, hey, you guys need to get out, and if you stay, you will be considered hostile.
We leaflet dropped, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Like we leaflet dropped.
I think
Fallujah.
I think they described it. Yeah, we leaflet dropped. We tried. The military out tried to limit casualties, and then I looked up the figures. The figures can range from 800 to 1,500 casualties.
Yeah,
it's a lot of people, and this battle only lasted a week.
Right.
So the amount of times that projected 288,000. What the hell?
I mean, it's a possibility. The problem is, like, with the Iraq War, it wasn't primarily us fighting Saddam's army. It was us fighting Saddam's army and Taliban. And, it was just us going in and fighting in the enemy. And, the civilian casualties, of course, was extremely high. And, and a lot of people today don't agree that the Iraq War was at all just, and other than we just liberated a dictatorship government. And
Right.
And the civilian casualty count was caused, of course, by the United States military, but also a lot by the Taliban.
Okay.
Well,
this
it's not. I don't think it's our place to speak on that one, Saber.
I know it's not, and it's just when an article like this does, it just pins everything to the blame of the United States military, and
the big war machine.
Exactly.
And then this one talks about the total civilian. I was okay. That's all right. I was reading the next paragraph. Where I was talking about the
now, here's what I want to go back to, back from the previous paragraph. This is where I want to talk about where, we don't know where this game is and what type of stories they're going to tell. It could tell stories are against and harmful to the United States military from the civilian perspective. Problem is, though, is that the developers have come out and said that white phosphorus will not be a thing that featured in the game at all.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's something that needs to be talked about if it's going to be talked about. That's something that would need to be talked about, but I don't think this is the right place to talk about that.
No.
Because it states in the next paragraph, and I'm jumping ahead here. Yet another shooter glorifying the sacrifices of those in the U.S. military. It was a volunteer military, and those are real sacrifices. That wound is fresh for a lot of Americans. A lot of people lost. You can ask lots of people, and they know someone who's died as a direct result to this war.
Yeah.
And the fact that this fucking writer is downplaying that or that it's downplaying the fact that yes, they didn't need to go fight. They did. They died, and they made a big fucking sacrifice by doing that. And I don't know. Those guys didn't know what that they were there. A lot of them that signed up were there because, oh, I just watched my country get attacked on 9/11. That's like a lot of those people that died in this war are 9/11 signups.
Volunteers,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they witnessed a fucking attack on their country. You can debate all day whether we're there for a good reason or a bad reason. But at the time we were there, the common consensus wasn't, oh, war crimes, war criminals. It was, we were there as fucking volunteers because our country got attacked and we weren't going to let that happen again.
Right.
It was patriotism that brought a lot of those kids there. And I have to say kids.
Oh yeah, because the age range of the Marines that were there was like 18 to like 22-year-olds.
18 to 22.
18-year-old kids going and dying because they witnessed their country get fucking attacked.
Yeah, and that's why
they're trying to fucking talk down about those people. That's such fucking bullshit.
And I'm
all for our freedom of speech,
right?
But that fucking hurts.
Yeah, it does.
There's a lot of people who lost family members. Somebody has lost a family member as a result to this war.
Seeing footage. Yeah, and and there is plenty of footage you can go watch of the absolute chaos. And the thing is that what I also respect of what the developers are doing is they came out and said that the politics are not going to play a part in this game. And what they try to do from that is that they're focusing more on the brotherhood and the camaraderie that these soldiers shared with each other, rather than just the politics and everything like that.
Right. I just hope that there's that what comes of this is not. I hope most people are sane, and this is not a game. From everything they've released, and I could be defending something that as soon as it releases, my whole viewpoint's going to be like, well, fuck, I'm going to backtrack. But I'm defending what they've said. Yeah. I have no reason to not believe this developer. They want to tell the story, and it's an important story that needs to be told. And these guys, they all definitely know someone who died there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, this game would, if you put it into perspective of, let's say, Activision and their development team making this, not even if there were some veterans in there or just all non-veterans in that development team making this type of game compared to the development team, I don't know their name.
Ventura and Highline.
Ventura and Highline making this game, telling their story, and if you compare it to someone saying Activision, why and if you get the same criticism, it should be harder on them because they didn't live it compared to these guys. They did. And to say that they're glorifying, no, they want people to know what they went through. And if it's such it's because they are alive still, and I'm gonna assume that they want to remember their friends who got killed then.
Yeah.
And this is a way for them to say, hey, they didn't go there to just get killed. They went and did a job, and it was a hard job that is important. And it was, for us, even if the politics aside, was the war on terror, and that's exactly what we're living at that time.
Yeah.
It is absolutely that. And it's we can't speak on. We're not trying to speak on behalf of of Highwire and Ventura. We're going off of what they have presented to us. We're going off of what they have said in their initial statements and everything like that. And when somebody and if Kotaku, I literally just heard about Kotaku like 10 minutes before we started this podcast. And if they're literally having writers publish stuff like this and saying lines like, just because the war in Iraq was controversial doesn't mean that it isn't filled with stories of sacrifice.
No, No, this is one of the developers telling somebody on IGN's
Oh yeah,
podcast.
yeah. Sorry.
So one of the developers said this: just because the war in Iraq is controversial, doesn't mean that it's not filled with stories of sacrifice. Yes, it can be debated that we should not have ever been in Iraq.
Yeah.
It can definitely be said, and I don't want to minimize anything, but politically, I agree. I don't think we ever had a reason to be there.
No.
But that doesn't matter. That doesn't change the fact that fucking young kids, people younger than I am right now, went over and died for fucking I don't know. These stories do need to be told.
They do.
These are not stories, and they're telling stories from the civilians' perspective as well. These are stories that is the part that their voices, the civilians of an area in conflict, they're never heard. You're never going to hear a story from that person. You're only going to hear the story from the people who are not. I don't know.
It's you know what it is like every soldier has an outlet of how they want their story to be told, and movie studios are terrified to touch anything about Fallujah because of the controversy. I mean, just look at the controversy that's surrounding this game, and controversy about a game in 2021 is still happening. People are still freaking out about whether or not this story is justified in storytelling, and which it absolutely is. These are stories that need to be told. These are stories that people continuously talk trash and talk down on the veterans who took place on this battle and call them baby killers and murderers and stuff like that. And it's like and people are still gonna look at this game and they can look and play the game and they can still they'll still hold that opinion. And at the end of it, ultimately what this game is going to try to do and do at their best, and I will always respect them for trying to do it and have the balls of doing it, is tell the story of these soldiers, or not soldiers, Marines. Tell the story of these Marines who went and fought this battle, and not only the Marines, the civilians that were there.
Yeah, if you want to talk about a story, and you're talking about heroism here, even if, despite the controversy aside, if there is, heck, I wouldn't want to play a game on, let's say, Medal of Honor winners. There's a guy who was awarded that honor in this battle at that time.
Yeah,
his name is David Belavia. I don't want to say his name wrong. And for what he did, he saved lives. Despite the fact that there was civilian casualties and 18 to 22-year-olds were killed, they went in there and they were fighting for their lives as well as trying to save whatever they could. And to say that the controversy side, they're filled with stories of sacrifice, there is. This quote is true, and the biggest guy is David, but there is more going down to everyone who was there, and those stories we don't hear about often or ever unless you go and look for it. Like those occasional documentaries that were on Discovery Channel or now today the military channel. Yeah.
So one thing I want to talk about is I don't think just American soldiers, just American fighters are heroic. That's something it takes some fucking balls to defend what you think is right like that. I'm not at all saying Al Qaeda's heroic, but it's not. Heroism comes in all shapes and sizes and all packages. There are heroic civilians that saved people, and there's a lot to unpack among this story. There's a lot to unpack, and there were heroic Germans. There in World War II, there were heroic Germans, there were heroic Russians, there were heroic British and French, and the heroism isn't exclusively an American thing, and I think stories of heroism need to be told more broadly. So I'm excited to see how they tell these stories.
You know, it's a video game at the end of the day. And a lot of people's take on video games is like, especially for military shooters, it's Call of Duty. You know, where Call of Duty had freaking no Russian and like these ridiculous, crazy like super soldier scenes where you're literally taking on like hundreds of troops from a Russian, snow fortress or, whatever. That's what people's take on military shooters are, because that's the mainstream. Especially with nowadays, one of the biggest mainstream games out there that mainstream media doesn't cover is Escape from Tarkov, and that's not your running around freaking, one-tapping everything in your path type of shooter. That's a game where you're taking your time and everything. There's sandbox simulations like Arma, and then there's just their PvPs like Squad. And what I think what's going on here, at least what my opinion is that this development team saw an opportunity where military simulation games are starting to become more popular, and they feel out now is the time to release this game that they have been sitting on for almost 12 years now. And at the end of the day too, that's where my confidence comes from, that this is a passion project for a small studio who has nothing else to their name. It's a passion project.
I think that they have a tough job, because they have to relive what they've been through,
right?
And they're going through this over and over to make sure that they don't miss a beat. They're going through each, and they're trying to detail it as best as they could by telling us, the idiots who weren't there. I'm going to say it, we weren't there. We're the idiots. They want to make sure us, small brains, know what the hell was going on. Because at the end of the day, as long as they know that they taught us, which is what their documentary style, they're effective. It tells the story that it needs to tell, and that's what's effective about it. And if they allow us to do that, allow us, the American people, or even the British, the Canadians, everyone who was there, to see what they went through and why it was important at that time to do it. Because at the end, all we hear from now is, the controversy of this, controversy of that. We don't know what they went through to take that city. And this is the second time they had to take this city. So why they had to go back is important. Not because of what they were doing, but because our enemy at that time was there, and they had the job that they signed up to do, which for us would be laughable, but it was at that time an important task, and they were brave. They were brave enough to do it.
Absolutely.
Like, let's just go back to February 11th, where they announced why they're making the game. So, in this statement here, and Pooter, I'll share the screen as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, just pull it up.
All right. This is posted back on February 11, 2021, so last month. More than 3 million people from 41 countries have been sent to fight a war in Iraq. Dang. That was controversial before it even started. But just because this war was controversial doesn't mean it wasn't filled with remarkable stories, sacrifice, and courage. It has, however, stopped many of these stories from being told. Actually, hold on, I'm going to go back to that line. So, a lot of these veterans have felt, I guess, suppressed, that they can't tell their stories because of the fact of how controversial the war turned out to be, and especially the Battle of Fallujah. And that's terrible because, from what a lot that I read is that a coping mechanism for soldiers with PTSD is to tell their story. But it's hard for them, especially if they feel so alone, to find somebody to tell without receiving the backlash that may follow that from mainstream media sources. You know, I'm sure that a lot of these vets probably went to mainstream media sources and were probably turned away because they don't want to post that story. They don't want to post a story that sympathizes with the war. Nobody wants to.
It's such a taboo as it was when Vietnam veterans came back. Because when they came back, they were protesting against the war,
Yeah.
and that's what was popular. But when we went to this, and then as the day goes on, those soldiers were mistreated and they were silenced. Hey, we don't want to know what you went through. We want to stop it, but we don't want to know. And then we had the subsequent wars then on, which ended up leading up to the invasion of Iraq in 2003, the battles that led on to that, especially in Fallujah. And it's still the same way. They're like, we don't care what you went through, but we sure as hell don't want you to be there. Or the other way around is, we don't care what you went through, but you needed to be there, is what the stories were being told to us. The people who were those parents who were sending their kids, or not sending, who watched their kids go to war and then come back, and for some didn't, which is for us is very important. This is just from an American standpoint.
Right. So
yeah.
So when we go back, so they announced 16 Fallujah back in 2009. They learned that some people believe video games shouldn't be tackle real life events. To these people, video games seem more like toys than a medium capable of communicating something insightful, which we've already talked about. People look at stuff like Call of Duty, like 2009. This is hype, like the peak of Call of Duty. This is Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 releases in 2009, and a game about Fallujah is announced. Now, of course, the game wasn't released. Modern Warfare 2 wasn't released until later that year. But they've already seen like Call of Duty Modern Warfare. They've seen World at War. You know, they've seen all these different war games, like these arcadey shooters that's just run and gun and that's it. There's nothing to cling to a story to. And for the most part, I agree. You know, it's like with a lot of these Call of Duty games, you don't cling too much to a character. Now, what I will say is that there has been shooters in the past that have told a fantastic story, focused on the brotherhood of that story, and not so and create a game that isn't just a giant arcadic shooter. And that was the Brothers in Arms series. The Brothers in Arms series did such a great job of telling a story of Sergeant Matt Baker and his struggle in becoming a squad leader and being responsible for 13 guys. And throughout that game, you throughout the series, you watch him struggle with loss after loss after loss. And never at any point do they glorify the fighting, the shooting, or anything like that. They focus the story, they focus the dialogue, they focus the character development, and then they focus the squad-based mechanics to make sure that you don't run around like an arcadic shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So, on this, they disagree, of course. Throughout history, we've tried to understand our world through events that happened to somebody else. 6 Days of Fallujah asks you to solve these real-life challenges for yourself. We believe that trying to do something for ourselves can help us understand not just what happened, but why it happened and the way it did. Video games can connect with us in ways other media cannot. This tells me that they're going to challenge you. They're going to challenge your decision making. They're going to put you in a difficult spot, and you're going to have to come up with a split-second decision that's going to affect the rest of the gameplay. Because
that's all you have.
Yeah.
And for bringing it back to that trailer, when we saw that, when they showed us, the first thing was combat. As every first-person shooter does, we saw the combat going through. You saw the bad guy, you shot the bad guy, move on. But at the end of the trailer, as they said, hey, each time you go through this is different, which, depending on how thin the line is going to be, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. But you went to the end of the house where the trailer ends, and you go through and you see those civilians at the end. Now, you only had one, when they turned the corner, they had 1 second, you saw the civilians, and then they went to the trailer. Or not the trailer, them discussing what was going on. And for that is the same way as deciding when to shoot and when not to shoot. At the beginning, you turned that corner, you saw the bad guy. You could have hesitated and you could have shot or you could have not. Same thing could have happened when entering each house. You could have hesitated, you could have not. It's that 1 second decision, which as someone who wants to experience this is super, as for me as a gamer, will be super enticing. But for me as someone who wants to be educated, makes me not fearful, but gives me that anxiety that I wouldn't want to go through as a video game, but at the same time I understand why. It gives me that. Yeah.
It sounds like the game's just like, it's like, all right, you think you can do it better? Go do it yourself then.
Yeah.
You know, show us how it's supposed to be done. So, continuing on, based on their stories, okay, here we go. More than 100 Marines, soldiers, and Iraqi civilians have shared their stories with us so you can participate in them through this new interactive format. This includes everyone from a corporal kicking down doors to a deputy prime minister of Iraq. That is interesting. That is really, really interesting of how much, and that's kudos to an indie developer getting interviews from Iraqi civilians on the Battle of Fallujah. I mean, like, if that's just not dedication to figuring out how to tell this story, I can't figure out how much more you want from them.
And here's a question though. I mean, I could tell some of those Iraqi civilians lived in, could be Iraq. Did they fly out there to go do it themselves to make sure they were comfortable to get those interviews, or did they pay for travel to get somewhere else?
I don't think they're flying into Iraq.
I don't think so either, but
well,
you know, it could be one thing, and that is enticing because we don't ever hear the other side. We only hear our side.
That's fair.
Right.
So, moving on, based on their stories, we invested more than 3 years building technologies to explore specific parts of the combat experience more realistically than other games have so far. And I assume what they're trying to do with that is their aiming mechanics and their squad command mechanics. Of course, what we saw in the trailer, you have your option of your direct in, like, through the rear aperture, down the sight aim, and then you're kind of like over the top, barrel pointing at your target, but you keep your field of view type of aim, which is a cool mechanic, and it's definitely an absolutely unique mechanic to any shooter out there. I'm surprised Tarkov isn't even adapted to something like that.
Yeah, right.
And then to your specific squad commands. Like, there was a couple of squad commands I've never seen in a game before where you just, like, tell your squad to watch a door or watch a stairwell. And I feel like that's something that's going to play a very important part in certain storylines because, like, say, maybe you don't tell your squad to watch a stairwell and Taliban fire, or was it Taliban or Al-Qaeda that was hiding in Fallujah?
Al-Qaeda.
You have Al-Qaeda fire on top of the stairs, toss a nade down, and takes out your entire squad. It's gonna be decisions like that. You gotta be smart with your gameplay. Then I think that's what they're gonna try to go for.
Yep.
Other than that, though, it's not too what's the word? Like, it's not pioneering. What they're like, some of the mechanics they're doing is not too pioneering. Like we saw some janking movements with opening doors and certain like AI mechanics. I wasn't really a huge fan of how the enemy AI was moving around. And
for pre-alpha
right now,
what's that?
I'll give him benefit of the doubt right now.
Yeah,
for benefit. This is pre-alpha. It does say that at the bottom left. So that is stuff footage they can work out.
Yeah.
And for now, what seems pretty solid is from what I've seen is the squad mechanic. You want them to go at the top of the door, you point and click right there, go there. You want them to cover a door, you cover that. You want them to breach, go ahead. That seems pretty solid. I think that's going to be covered. And the map design, from what they showed us, looks pretty solid. For pre-alpha, that is going to be a majority of their work.
Mm-hmm.
And then then it moves on to the nit and gritty magazine, if they want to get it right, they can do that. They can get the door right later.
I don't know. As a civilian who shoots, it's one of those things, like the way they reloaded that gun just seemed funky to me.
Yeah.
I would have never reloaded a rifle like that ever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how M16s were operating in the desert. You know, it could be a matter that the dust was messing with the gun chambering itself to the rear, which is a common case with the M16 when it is exposed to, you know, certain elements. The M16 is not by far the most functional rifle in the world. The AK has proven that countless of times that you can put it through hell and high water and the thing will function perfectly.
The M16's a sack of shit, honestly.
M16 it is a gun that has its issues, of course, but on initial gameplay review where you're trying to show us what the mechanics are going to be like, like I said, we don't know if first of all, anybody who reloads an M16 after its first mag should never have to, you know, charge it again. There's no reason to do that.
You're never going to need to charge your rifle.
Only way you should be is if it's jammed.
And the only time I've ever used the charging handle is really like locking it back.
Right.
You know, locking back the charging handle, checking if I'm chambered. But every other time, I pretty much just like release it, get it going with the forward operating system, like the button. Maybe it's because I've never had to use a rifle in combat, but like it just seems.
Maybe he just did it to make sure it's not jammed. Quick, or I don't know.
I don't know. He's in the middle of combat. To me, you're trusting, you know, that your rifle is already chambered in the rear, and all you have to do is hit that friggin' that release button, and it chambers it around for you.
Yeah, or I wouldn't know. What I didn't notice is from what I have been told, is did he pull the magazine and put it away, or did he just drop it?
I think that they were going for a quick tac reload, probably.
Because if you're going for a quick reload, drop it and load it. That's it.
And that could have been the thing. That could have been a very common thing going on in that battle. We don't know. We don't know if they were so much worried about conserving magazines, because we also have heard from and researched that military costs, especially for the Marines during that battle, it was very low. They were buying attachments while they were there in Iraq. They weren't low. Yeah. They weren't kitted. Their M16 a lot of M16s on during that battle were not kitted with anything, even though they have rail attachments. It's the M16A4. And it had no rail attachments. It had rail attachments, but there was nothing on the gun.
You want a good example of this? Watch the show Generation Kill, the first episode. Just on their Humvees, they tell you that they've with their own money, not the Marines paying for this. The Marine themselves had to change the hoses, put everything together, repaint their Humvee from green to desert. And one of the main characters is Sergeant Colbert. He bought a turret shield for his grenade launcher, which he never got, by the way. And before they went into combat, they had to do all of that before going into combat on their own money.
And, you know, and that could also just be the first-hand accounts of, you know, those guys there. Like, all the M16s didn't cycle properly at all because of the dust, and so we had to rechamber them around each time. You know, that could be the thing. We don't know. But I just want to get back to this newsletter, or like the what this game is supposed to be. And this last line, I think, sums up exactly what these guys are trying to do. Perhaps now, more than ever, the best way to understand what's actually true is by experiencing reality for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is an absolutely... You know, they're taking a risk here. They're doing an experiment that, you know, really nobody has ever done before. You know, the closest thing I can maybe think of anybody doing this is a VR experience at a museum. You know,
okay. Now, my issue. Experiencing reality for ourselves, but it's going to be procedurally generated. That's a problem. That's contradictory.
Yeah,
I have a hard time believing that. Well, I don't know. I want to believe that they have, like, these are real veterans. I don't think they want their story to be misinterpreted or mistold. But also having procedurally generated levels, I feel takes away from that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something we won't know until we play it for ourselves.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, is that not everybody, well, at least people shouldn't be expecting them to get this 100% right. War movies have been done time and time and again, and people and experts always point out what was correct about the movie and what was incorrect about the movie. And I think for the lack of better terms, we gotta give them the benefit of the doubt if they have something slip up, just because they could be sacrificing that for the betterment of telling the story. Because that's what a lot of people do. They sacrifice some things here and there in order to tell a better story.
Yep. And some sacrifices will be made. It is art. Hopefully this is more of a speculation. I'm hoping that they tell the story as best they can, but not put it in perspective, like, let's say the movie Alexander the Great, where they try to throw in as much everything in there as possible that is all historically accurate and is right for the time, but it's all there and it's just it doesn't feel right, it doesn't flow. Because remember, if you're still telling the story, our monkey brains are gonna go to sleep within 2 seconds if it gets super detailed, because then we don't pay attention all the way. Some people do. A lot of people do.
That's a you problem, Josh.
Well, I'm putting the movie Alexander the Great. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, I've never seen that.
That movie is the most accurate historical movie you'll ever watch. It is the most boring movie you'll ever watch. And it has all these giant set piece battles with live action models, and they're awesome to see. But they tell you about the planning of it, which is cool. Then they tell you how they're going to execute it. Then you've seen them walk and do all that stuff. That can get boring real fucking fast, and It did in that movie. And it's cool to see in some military stuff, in video games specifically, hey, here's the plan, and then we got to go to the place. Nothing happens, which is fine. And then shit goes down, then you walk away. That's how Alexander the Great feels, and I'm hoping that they do some stuff like that, but I'm hoping at the same time they don't. You get my drift?
Right.
You can do that. Yeah, because as someone who wants to experience it, yes. But I don't want to get bored where I get turned off. Because that is another thing they have to be not concerned about, but if they want people to experience it, they have to understand that people will get bored. And that is to keep their attention into it. To make sure we know the story.
And
that's my
the biggest and for the side that people don't want this game to happen, here's one side I can understand, and this is from a article from the nextweb.com, TNW. This article is written by an Iraq war veteran, and he didn't serve in Fallujah, but he knew people who he says he knows 2 Marines that died there. And I'll show this article right now, and it's just, there's one specific quote about it that I can completely understand. And that is, hold on a sec. Is this article, or is this line right? Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. So he's talking about when the game first initially was announced back in 2009, and he talks about his initial reaction, and he says, "It was weird to imagine playing a video game based on a war my friends were still fighting in. It's still weird today, especially considering the U.S. is still fighting conflicts related to that war." Like, this part, like, I can't imagine that. Like, I personally don't know anybody who fought in Fallujah, nor do I know anybody who died fighting in Fallujah. And I can't imagine, as somebody who knows about this war to pick up a video game and to play it, to witness the horrors that my friend went through for this battle. And like at that, I can't say somebody's like, okay, then just don't play the game, you know, or anything like that. You know, it's a heavy hitting topic.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's my concern. This is not going to be an easy story for them to tell. You know, there's a lot of moving pieces that go into telling this story, and the procedural generation stuff, that's all super really cool, but I feel it takes away from the story that's being told, and I don't want this to feel like cheap, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, that's at the same time, even for me as someone who likes documentaries and will watch that historical boring movie, I want to be informed, and if as well as kind of entertained, because that's what history is for me. It's an informative entertainment,
right?
But it is the story that is of us.
Like,
so I must know it.
As messed up as it is, I don't know if it's messed up or not, but one example of of anything based on the current events going on in the Middle East that was super entertaining, but at the same time you felt for the people that were in it, is the documentary Restrepo and Korengal.
I've seen them. They're good.
Fantastic documentaries. It's all stuff filmed by the soldiers that were there. It's no camera crews or anything. It's strictly, what's going on there. Mm-hmm. And it, they show some firefights and everything like that. There's no like serious engagements that you can actually see, because it's the Korengal Valley. Every engagement that took place there was literally like stuff that was like, hundreds of meters,
300 meters.
Yeah. They were
not. It was shooting at each other from across a valley or shooting at each other up mountains. Like, it was kind of fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. And there's probably, and I don't doubt it, that there's probably a documentary out there that somebody's holding on to, or footage that somebody's sitting on to, that shows the door kicking and infiltrations of the Battle of Fallujah, that isn't shot by some CNN camera crew or whatever. It's shot by the people that are there.
Yep, there is them.
No, it's a very good documentary. Like, I fucking love it. There's a lot of very good documentaries from this, or not even necessarily documentaries, but there's awesome YouTube videos of veterans talking about their stories and everything.
And that's why at the end of the day, to me, where this is just its own take on doing that, because it is a documentary game. That's what they essentially called this game, because you're watching the interviews, and that's how like Korengal and Restrepo was shot. You have the footage of the action going on, and then you would cut back to somebody talking about what was going on in that moment, and you go back to the action. Now, I'm not saying that the game should be jumping around like that, but that is a great model to follow to me, to where you get to play and experience it, and then you come back to see what somebody's saying about it.
And I just Googled it just to be sure. There is footage, and
of what?
Of Marines going through house to house in Fallujah.
Yes, absolutely. There's footage. There were CNN camera crews with them.
Shot by Marines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually in the National Museum of Marine Corps.
Oh.
Yeah, you can just
say that again, please.
Did you say corpse?
National Museum of the Marine Corps.
Okay, it's core. It's just core. Josh.
No.
It's just core.
I will read it how I.
And actually, I think there's an Amazon documentary. Hold on.
Or if you want to watch a good documentary, just watch For the 25.
I mean, there are countless different Fallujah documentaries, and it's hard for somebody to make something that's actually be able to where a studio will take it and publish it, because I feel like a lot of the footage that like a Marine or soldier that would be holding as a door kicker or you know, people who's clearing rooms, there's gonna be a lot of that you cannot show to the public. You know, it's gonna be a lot of like, you know, hard hitting stuff. I mean, oh wait, hold on a second. Okay, never mind. But you know, it's it is what it is. And can these guys take flack for trying to do that? Absolutely. You know, there's gonna be criticism for anything attempted. I mean, heck, there was criticism, not nearly as much criticism, but there was criticism for the movie 13 Hours releasing so quickly after the events of Benghazi. You know, and you know, there's just been there's a lot of stuff out there that has been made shortly after the events of where it happened. So people making that argument, I don't think that's a valid argument. That's like still so fresh. When there's literally been movies time and time again depicting this. Like, imagine how hard it was for the families. Well, I can't say that, but like Lone Survivor. You know, at least I couldn't imagine watching that movie and watching, like, you know, if I was related to any one of those Navy SEALs. You know, that's gonna be a hard thing to watch, but was absolutely a story that had to be told.
Mm-hmm. Black Hawk Down being another one.
Yeah, exactly. Black Hawk Down, 12 Strong, you know, 13 Hours.
Strong. Well, 13 Hours is... 13 Hours was a story to be told, but when it was released, that was a propaganda movie. But
it's easy to say that any of these movies are propaganda movies.
Yeah.
American Sniper, hands down, is a propaganda movie.
Yeah, it is.
Chris Kyle, I'm not discrediting Chris Kyle, but kind of a propaganda piece for the military.
Yeah, and it's a military recruitment tool.
Well, yeah, I wasn't talking about for the military itself, for the 13 Hours film. It was more towards political things. Like, I'm not gonna say that Black Hawk Down wasn't a cool movie. It's somewhat Matthew Best from the Black Rifle Coffin Company joined the Army Rangers because of that movie.
Yeah.
But and then I saw him react to that movie in his YouTube channel, or not his Black Rifle's YouTube channel, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, but we also got, for those stuff, an entertaining film, as well as an informative film. If I was watching one of their videos, of specifically I'm using Black Rifles specifically up top when they were reacting to it, when Gary Gordon and Randall Shugart went into the Black Super 6-1's helicopter crash by themselves. He literally said, "Stop what you're doing. Look at what these guys did. Mm-hmm. These guys are heroes." They didn't go in for that, and this is how I would assume they would want to say for Fallujah. And I know they're not going to be using real names and stuff, but look at what these guys did.
Like,
research the battle.
Like, moments like that.
Use this as a platform of research.
Moments like that is only stuff like I would never want to play that. You know, I never would want to play that. But like, that's like stuff like that where like they had to get that right. They had to get that moment right. They said that that Gary and Shugart will be in this movie. They casted actors for that moment, and
they made sure that they know that they died doing something important.
Right.
And you know, just to like the actors who had to carry that burden of like being the ones like, okay, we gotta sell these guys as the people who they are, and then on top of that, they have to show their actual deaths.
Yeah, them.
Like I don't know who was the last person to die, but like to relive a moment like that and to depict it onto a screen has to be one of the most challenging things an actor can possibly do. Because you're not.
How long after the events of that was Black Hawk Down made? It couldn't have been more than a decade.
No, No.
About 5 years.
Yeah, about 5 years that happened. And they have to reshoot a scene where somebody died. Same thing with Lone Survivor. And this is something that Marcus Luttrell absolutely hates about the movie of Lone Survivor, is that it shows that everybody died alone. And Marcus has gone on record multiple times and says that nobody died alone and that he was with every single person that died except for why am I forgetting his name? The most
Danny?
Huh?
Danny, when Danny got killed, he was, from Marcus's point of view, when Danny, the guy he was carrying, got killed, he was shot in the head. He didn't live.
No, not him. The decorated Navy SEAL.
Lieutenant. I know you're talking about the lieutenant.
Yes, the one that made the sat call.
Yeah, he died on that rock, and I'm gonna.
And Marcus always says that he like it's just. I legitimately cannot imagine being the actor responsible of showing the death of a real life soldier.
Right, that'd be fun.
Lieutenant Mike Murphy.
Yeah, Mike Murphy.
There you go.
Like I that has to be the most difficult thing ever, and for that to happen, and that's gonna be the challenge that Fallujah will face, and the challenge that it will face is how will it depict a Marine's death. Because you got to imagine that there's got to be consequences to your actions as a squad leader in that game.
Yeah. And I believe they said they're not going to be using any real names.
For the squad members.
Squad members?
The squad leader, the people that you play as, is the real person.
Okay. But the people that are dying, they're not going to be using.
Yeah, they're going to use alias. But I'm pretty sure they're going to want, at least to give you some, for a good story to get you some relation to these guys, to these men and women who were there, and eventually, if somehow they get killed, you feel that, and that's going to be an important factor too, because you are playing this, you are going to interact with them more. And if they do kill, they want to make sure that you understand and feel that interaction. They don't want to just be a one-off like in Call of Duty when some random sergeant gets shot, or in World at War you can actually just kill all your friendlies, but without any consequence. You wanna know there was a consequence,
right?
And here's the thing:
that's difficult.
If these there's no in between for the studio. They either get this absolutely right or it's wrong. Anything I won't say absolutely right, but they have to get it right. There can't be a middle ground where they got it right here, but they can't have that. If they have anything
for the story, not a story, for the story that's being told here, it has to be fucking perfect.
Yeah, you got to remember, there is men and women still living today, and I'm pretty sure many of them will play this game when it comes out. If it's done poorly or if it's done in bad taste, they're gonna call them on their bullshit.
But also the thing is too is that they're only going off of stuff that they've interviewed with people. It's not like they're gonna go and grab a story that they heard. They're not gonna go grab Chris Kyle's story and put it into Fallujah. They're going off of people that they've interviewed for this game. And what I hope is that what they're doing in terms of delaying the game, they're making sure that the people that see this game released, the people that have interviewed, they're going to try to get this in the hands of those people as much as possible and make sure that the game is right. Because those are mainly, if I was a developer, those are the guys I'm pleasing first and the gamer second. Because if I don't please them first, the game will not work.
Nope, they have to be pleased. So they have to please first the people that they interviewed, then I'm pretty sure they might have to please the veterans that were there, who are aside, who might know similar stories.
That's impossible. Do you know why that's impossible? It's because there are veterans. It's such a different thing. Veterans out there, first of all, trash the Navy SEALs because of how much they tell their stories. They make fun of these guys because they always go and make either a book, a movie, or whatever. That literally, if you talk to anyone in the military, at least with Spec Ops, I've had the fortune of talking to a couple of guys who either been private contractors who served special forces or whatever, and one thing I've always been told is that you always hear about the Navy SEALs because they love to run their mouth, but you won't ever hear about like Delta Force or Rangers or anything like that unless the mission went wrong, which for the most part in movie history has been true, i.e. Black Hawk Down.
Yeah, but the only other one that I can think of is Thank You for My Service. That is not a wrong mission.
It's not special. I'm not talking about like that. I'm talking about like
their combat experience, what they went through, they came out of it, and stuff like that.
I'm just talking about like there's people out there, there's veterans who believe that sharing their stories is not the way to go, and especially through a video game. And you're not going to please those people either way. They could get it absolutely right, and I guarantee that those vets won't be pleased by it.
Oh yeah, no, you're never going to be able to please a veteran, please the entirety, but you're never going to be able to please everyone anyways. Yeah.
They have a controlled market. They have a controlled variable that they can please first, and that's the one they actually have to get right. Because they don't get that part right, because they can go and carry on and join the group that doesn't, like this game and not promote the game that they want to. And then they got the gamers like us. They got the gamers who want to play a game that the story is told well, and we respect what the game is. Now, unfortunately, because of the way people are, there are going to be countless trolls to this game. And there's going to be people who are going to go in there, they're going to make fun of the game, they're going to go and make decisions that are going to be, controversial, they're going to hurt, there's going to be, based on how this game goes, there's going to be trolls, no matter what, and that's something you got to expect. And that's probably also what a lot of people are worried about, because they know that there's going to be somebody out there who goes and just intentionally shoots the civilians, It happens in Call of Duty on the daily. I mean, I think Skeet commented that he went and shot the baby like 3 times in Call of Duty Modern Warfare in 2019.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, baby murder is...
To be fair, I didn't know that was a thing in COD.
Well, remember you did that...
okay, so there's the mission where you go in and he's like, all right, boys, lights on, and then you like kick in the door and you fucking clear out the townhouse with Captain Price. Really good mission, by the way.
Fantastic
really
mission.
Good example of a fucking Call of Duty mission.
Yeah.
I just want to put that on the record. I love that mission, Infinity Ward. But also, you can shoot a baby.
Yeah. And
see, I didn't, because I played the mission properly.
Well, yeah,
I threw a grenade into that room.
Yeah. You can shoot the women.
Do you get consequence for that, or
not for the baby? Not for the baby. Yes, for the women. No.
So you can kill the civilians as you go through the house on accident too, because they'll fucking just run across the screen, and you're like,
that's a case that's a case of that splits, like, what would you do, type of scenario. That's where Call of Duty's like put shoves in your face, like, what would you do? And
okay.
I think that's what, and I think every mission is going to basically be like that in 6 Days in Fallujah.
If you kill the baby, I think it's like 3 times. It puts you back to the main menu and tells you to take a break. It tells you like, don't kill children or something. Like, really, that's like, whoa, why would you say, like, why would you feel the need to say that? But it all makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. So I see.
I mean, at the end of it too, I'm excited for the game, and I'm worried as well, and I feel like everybody can hold that reserve, because really nobody knows what this game is yet. We've seen some footage and we've read some reports, but at the end of the day, we don't know what this game is. It's coming from an indie studio, using Unreal Engine, and it's carrying a huge responsibility with not even a fraction of the budget that most AAA title makers would get.
No. And they're trying to do the job to make sure that it is done proper.
Yeah, I just hope the game, like, I'm very excited. I'm gonna buy it.
Absolutely.
I'll spend $60 on a hope that this is a poignant story, like, I'm I really want to talk with one of the devs. I want to
Yeah.
talk with somebody
Yeah.
from that team, because
I
I
would
feel
love to
like
pick
my
their brains.
my concerns aren't problems necessarily. Like my concerns, I guarantee you, they're like, no, you're not the first person to voice this to us, and I'm not going and saying, oh, they're fucking baby killers. Oh, dude, maybe if I tweet that, they'll be like, hey, we need to go on this podcast and clear things up.
Like,
No,
we need you guys to clear some air on what this game is, because I feel like at this point it's the best thing you guys can do. I mean, you guys are getting publicity, that's for sure. You guys are getting a ton of free publicity right now. It's all bad publicity, but you guys are getting that publicity. But at a certain point, you know,
We're not giving them bad publicity.
No, I'm talking about for AAA title,
AAA stuff.
Yeah.
But
And
us
I need to listen to the IGN podcast that they did with the dev. Or it's
Yeah, I
not
need
their,
to see it.
like one of their talk shows. It's like a beer show with video games. I gotta watch it. I'm curious I'm sure that I'll have that answer.
I mean, I talked to their community manager. They said they weren't doing any podcasts right now, and hopefully, you know, we can get some more light on this game soon. I mean, we've seen the gameplay. We've seen a shorthand of what the gameplay actually is, and realistically, I think we need to see a demo. I think we need a demo mission, honestly, to see what actually this game's going to be, or at least watch a full playthrough of one mission.
Yeah, start to finish.
Like, we need to see what this game is going to be like, because, you know, at this point, there's a lot of grinding against this game, man. I just don't want to get to the point where these guys cave and give up on the game because, you know, or this could be this could be a one and done thing for the studio. Maybe they just want to make this game and then that's it.
I think they've been working on it so long that I don't think they will ever cave. But one and done could be a possibility. But caving in and not making it by this point, I don't think they're willing to do that.